So I think anyone that wants to or is called to do healing work and feels like, how do I do this? Let go of expectations. It's like when you give readings, I have to let go of expectations. You can expect something's going to happen, but don't expect how it's going to happen. And so when you let go of expectations that it has to be really perfect and all that stuff, open up, be open to alternative ways of having it come together and having it manifest and having it grow.
Hello, and welcome to the Constance Messmer Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hey, if you want to start your own healing practice or Reiki practice and you just kind of feel a little stuck, I've got some pointers for you that might be beneficial. It's what I used to teach my students when they wanted to study Reiki with me and then open their own practice. So this came off of a letter that came in from Sarah in Canada. And if you want to send in a question and your own note to me about advice or whatever, or content related questions, just go to my website, constancemessmer.com, and you'll sign up for my newsletter automatically. That's kind of my payback, my barter system. And then I'll read your question and get to it eventually. Listen, I've got some questions that are like a year old, so there's just a lot. I get flooded, but we'll make our way through. So Sarah asks, she said, I'm catching up on your work. Very inspiring and relatable. Cool. Thank you. So glad it is. She says, I'm a Reiki master, although I've been finding it difficult to get business going, and I'm not sure if I'm standing in my own way. I don't think you are. I just think you need some steps and confidence, maybe confidence. No, I think you know that you're going to be really good when you're doing this. I think your world's going to open up, like really open up, and you're going to kind of have what happened, like I had happen. You're going to put your hands on people's chakra systems and scan their energy fields, and you're going to start getting psychic information. It'll be very cool. You're going to be very helpful, Sarah. So I'm glad you're going to do this. What would be your advice, considering I don't really have space to work from and either in person or offer distance Reiki? I'm also trying to be more open to my woo side, your psychic side, because I just know there's more for me. And I'm not sure what. Oh, I'm getting chills. So if you're feeling like Sarah and you want to start it and you're just like, I love that you, Sarah, have a practice. So you're going to use Reiki as your in kind of, and it's great energy balancing. So I, like you, didn't have a space to work out of at all. So I suggest that you take these first steps is, oof, chills, man, create a solid foundation. And by that, I mean, give yourself a business, grab all your social media handles. I, back in the day, made flyers and programs and brochures. But if you build a small website, or not even, if you just want to get a, Facebook page or whatever it is that you can start getting the word out. Here where I live, we hang flyers on bulletin boards. So I did that. And I even, wait for it, had a physical mailing list back in the day. Now I have an email list. So I just feel like this will be beneficial to you to get the word out. It also tells the universe, and even creating business cards, it tells the universe you're serious and you want to get on this, right? And you're a Reiki master. So hopefully you've taken some times to do teaching materials, because I think you're supposed to teach, because when you give an attunement, you get an attunement, Sarah. So this will be really nice for you to just have that energy solidify in. So definitely do all of your print materials that you're going to need. Don't worry about the space yet. I'll get to that. And I encourage you to, did I say get all your social media handles? Yeah, that was important. You need to claim your name and use your name. You have a cool name. So use that, you can use whatever you want. I started my first business, was called Namaste Healing, because Namaste means I honor the divine in you. I loved it. But someone else has it now, so I couldn't use it. I was forced to use my name, which is kind of what I needed to do anyway, but I didn't want to, because I was like, oh, I don't want to use my name. I don't think that felt too big for me, but anyway, here I am. So definitely get those pieces in place. Build the time to create your print media or your online presence kind of thing. But even also, as a part of that, you need to decide what's your rate. My rate, I went off of what were massage people doing. There was no other Reiki practitioner when I started in the community that I lived on in the island. I was the first one, and so I was the first teacher, which was cool. So I set up what felt right in my heart. I set up, pay for one session, it's this much. But if you book for 3 sessions and you buy a package or 5 sessions, because as you know, more Reiki is better. So weekly sessions, then it was a little bit cheaper. I also decided I wasn't going to barter. I needed to be firm on my prices because I had to pay the electricity. I lived alone. So I was like, okay, I got to pay for all this. So then I figured out what are my work hours? What was I willing to work, and would it include evening hours, and what did that look like? And, just really work parameters of which days I wanted to work and how often and how many clients I wanted to see each day. These two, making these decisions tells the universe you're serious about creating this as a business and you are going to have boundaries in the work. It's really important because I get that you're a giving person. And those of you that are listening that really want to help and heal, you're giving people. So this is about you having proper kind of parameters placed on yourself. And you can always be flexible with them if, for whatever suits you. And I said I didn't barter. I did. Someone wanted to do Reiki Master and she traded her beat up truck. She was leaving the country, so she had this truck. And of course, I had this other friend that needed wheels, and I was like, "Listen." And she had her own little private, small nonprofit business, and I said, "I'm going to get this truck as a payment for the Reiki Master, and then I'm going to gift it to you." And get that little write-off, but also I didn't take the write-off, whatever, just like you're gonna have the truck. So I have bartered before, but also another way to do it, Sarah, if people say, listen, I can't afford your classes, because I set my fees pretty standard to what I paid for Reiki 1, 2, and Master. And I had people say, I can't afford that. And I said, I'd take a payment plan. Listen, I'll set the class and you make payments until the class and you'll be fully paid by the time of the class. But I was very adamant otherwise about the value of the masters and the teaching to be right in line and not take a cut on those. Um, and then there were people that I put in my plan that I would be like, no, okay, I'm going to give free sessions for people that are in hospice because that was just how I was, right? Yeah. And others, but you've got to suit what works for you. Point is, make your own business plan and make your kind of your brand guide of what does your brand look like. So that's number one, because that puts it to the universe like, I'm serious. This is going to happen. Bless it all with the help of the cosmos, angels, whatever, say, listen, I really want you to fortify this work. Let the right people find me. Let it all be beautiful. Let every healing matter. You're going to do that in your session anyway when you offer up the healing, right? Because that's what we do as masters or teachers. We allow the healing to be a perfect healing for whatever's meant to happen in the moment. And we let go, right? It's not up to us, it's up to them and their soul and divine consciousness. We just show up to do our part. So, what I did, like you, I didn't have a space to work out of. I was renting a room in a house at that point. I did house calls. So you could do house calls if that feels comfortable to you. Of course, you have to make sure you're safe and everything's fine. That worked out great. Another thing I did is I subletted from an acupuncturist and I worked in her office on the days she wasn't working and on the evenings she wasn't working. So that worked out fabulously. And I learned very quickly because I was young and I would wear these short dresses because that was my style with my boots. Fresh out of college, I learned very quickly, like, no, 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 Constance, you can't dress like that because Reiki opens up that love vibe. And I was having people falling in love with me. So I quickly learned I needed to wear pants. So I put on trousers and I had a jacket, almost like a someone in the healing arts, like a doctor, like a white coat jacket, but I wasn't trying to pretend I was a doctor or anything, but it was just like I need to look more professional. So I had cream colored jackets I wore, and it helped a lot. It helped a lot to remind them because in the very beginning, I couldn't afford a table. So I had to treat them in their chair or on their bed, right? Which was really tricky for guys. Um, but luckily nothing, everything went beautifully. I also sent Reiki ahead so that nothing weird would happen. I'm like, no, I'm not looking for a maid. I just want to, do my work and get out. So, but eventually I could afford and I invested in a table. And as the work happened, then Spirit was like, you got to start teaching. You got to start teaching. And so I really put together some beautiful materials. I should probably sell those. Like my Reiki manuals are great. I think they're great. I think they are because when I taught, I didn't teach straight Usui Reiki, even though I was trained in that. I taught psychic Reiki, how to scan the chakras and sense the energy. And my chakra book that's coming out is going to, it's going to look at that. That's why I teach all the chakras in all the episodes that you have at your hot fingertips in the playlist because they allow you to look into those spaces to find out what is the imbalance about, what's the block about. And so I definitely built my business in this way. I always had integrity in the work. I was very keenly aware of how much Reiki could help, whether it was, I would say, listen, it's a great modality to assist in other modalities. And then it allowed me as an entry into psychic information because that's what really made my business take off as I would give straight Reiki or I'd give Reiki with insight. And then I'd tell them things. And then it became with regression and, past life looking and past life regression, or I would just tell them the story of the past life. But it was pretty powerful. And for those of you that have written in and said, can it leave adverse effects? Yeah, there's always in most healing modalities, there's what's called a healing crisis. So, acupuncture Rolfing, all of these things, and even Reiki, they could leave you in vomit. I've had people, get really sick, and I say, great, it's releasing. This is great. This is a good thing. Don't worry, come back. You need to come back because it's releasing. I'll help you even more, or the work will help you even more. So, all of these things being very versed. I think in the beginning, I gave a few free ones out if, you'd tell a friend or whatever. And, big on referrals. That was cool. I also sold gift certificates so other people could be exposed to the work. That was handy and helpful. And then I did put some ads in the paper, which was great return on investment. And it again marked to the universe that I was serious. It was a business. Of course, I bought little insurance that I could have coverage for, and um, I kept track of my expenses, and reported all income and stuff like that. So that was really good. When I started teaching, I ended up, I think there was once maybe that I said my classes were 8 people. I felt like that was my nice max. The first class I taught, I was in a home in a space that I rented that I could have the whole student group. But then when I traveled, I had to either ask someone to host me and then they would attend the Reiki class for free, or wait for it, I even rented hotel conference rooms. That was handy because they're not as expensive as you think, or maybe they weren't back then. Maybe they are now. I don't know. But there was always like, and sit with spirit and go, if this is for my highest good and if this is meant to be, then help me, help me, help me, help me. And so these ideas of like, all right, there's some other spaces that you could use to teach or go to was really beneficial. I also did Reiki on animals. I put my card up in feed and grain stores, so I started working with horses a lot. I also went into animal shelters. And when I wrote Some Dogs Talk, I even did a talk at the animal shelter as a fundraiser. And I gave a psychic reading mediumship session for free animal communication to someone as a fundraiser gift for the animal shelter. So that was always good too. So you could figure out what are some cool other ways, right? Go to your wise self. What are some cool other ways that I could build my business and also contribute at the same time? I think you immerse yourself into it. I know you're probably doing something else. It feels like you might be doing something else. And there was also another email from someone saying, I'm working full time in a business world, but I want to get into the healing arts in this way and make this transition. So I hope you're listening too. I also, I do want to tell you this. This was kind of smart of me is when I taught classes, I said you have to prepay because I live in an area that has a lot of seasonal residents and vacationers, and they would like sign up for my weekend class, right? And then I would sometimes get a no-show. That lesson I learned really fast. So what I ended up doing was I would actually with the healing sessions, I didn't mind because I was so busy that if someone didn't show, I was like, okay, sorry, no, I don't have any more this week. Sorry, you missed your chance. But I wouldn't charge them. I just wouldn't because I was like, phew, I need the break. I'm just going to go for a walk or chill out or talk to my guides or just like recalibrate on my own treatment table. By then, I had had my own space. So that was one thing. But one thing I did do that was really helpful when I started to teach, I couldn't have that happen. That happened once with this one person. And I was like, I went in clairvoyance psychically and I was like, what? Why would you do this to me? She showed up to the class. She did show up. She showed up super late and disturbed the whole setting. And I'm so fastidious and nerdy that I wanted to make sure she got all the information. And so I kind of backpedaled, and which was exhausting for the people that had already been there for, I don't know, it was like 2 hours or something. They didn't need to rehear it again. And I felt like I should have just said, you know what, you can't come. I'm sorry. But because she hadn't paid, and she was one of those people that was going to pay when she came, and I was desperate for the money because I was paying my rent and all that stuff in my living space. It was a cottage industry. I took her in, and looking back, I wish I wouldn't have. But years later, she wanted to come free to a conference, psychic development psychic symposium I gave, and she wanted to report on it in the local paper. So she wanted to come free as a reporter. And I said, no, I'm sorry, you can't, because 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 I'm not as nice as you think I am. Because I was like, no, because when I went clairvoyance in on her, I was like, ooh, you've done this to me in other lifetimes. You're just a little bit of like interesting. So I was like, I don't need to tangle with you. I'm very kind with my services and I give, give, give. And when people would come and study Reiki with me, I would make sure they would have powerful healing experiences with me channeling or me doing past life regression while they were on the table in my series. So I'm very giving as a teacher, but when people cross me like that, where it's just disrespectful, and that's what she was, like she was more important than all our time. Like she just was like, oh, I forgot it was today. I'm like, okay, it doesn't work for me. So yeah, there was that. But she taught me a valuable lesson. The valuable lesson was, and I have forgiven her, doesn't mean I want to hang out or play with her, but the valuable lesson was to get people to prepay for the workshops, the classes. I started doing that. It was fantastic. So with Reiki, especially because I charged, what did I charge? 175, 500, and 2000, because that's what I paid, right? For Reiki, I would have them pay in advance. And for that, they would get the manual in advance because then they could read through it, which was nice because sometimes they would be in the class and they'd be so loopy, right? They would be so loopy that they couldn't really retain the stuff. And so I also offered Sarah, and I think you're going to like this, or those of you that want to teach Reiki or do, is I offered a follow up that was, what did I call it? I can't remember, where it was a follow-up for anyone at, whatever level. If they had studied with me, they could come and do it for free, where it was a rehash of their level. I think it was not. Yeah, I think it was just to their level. And if they wanted an extra attunement, they'd have to pay. I think I charged like $50 or whatever. Again, because because I was living alone and had to pay all my bills, and it was a business, so of course. But that was a good thing to do too, because then they could have this refresher. That's what it was, Reiki refresher. Doesn't that sound nice? Reiki refresher. So they did the refresher class and they felt more confident, because sometimes when people would come and they would be having these out of body experiences or these profound shifts with the attunement process, or would have past life stuff coming up in my class and be crying or whatever, because we just went all in, man, they wouldn't retain the information as much. And that's why I also needed to have a manual, because I was like, listen, there it is. All the hand positions, everything's in there. You can have it. Now it's secret. And of course, with the symbols too, I'm like, come on, this stuff is secret and sacred. Whether or not you can find it all over the internet is not my thing, but whatever. So I think anyone that wants to or is called to do healing work and feels like, how do I do this? Let go of expectations. It's like when you give readings, I have to let go of expectations. You can expect something's going to happen, but don't expect how it's going to happen. And so when you let go of expectations that it has to be really perfect and all that stuff, open up, be open to alternative ways of having it come together and having it manifest and having it grow. I think not only Sarah in Canada, but several of you that are listening and were called to hit click, watch, are, ooh, chills, is because your work is not supposed to be small. Your work is supposed to be huge, huge. Let this be your sign, right? Let this be your sign. Huge. Tell them huge and let it evolve. Let it evolve. I think you need to remember the other modality that I learned was Bowen, Bowen. It's a remedial therapy Tom Bowen developed, and he lived in Australia since passed. And he said, basically it was channeled. It came through. Now it's similar to a couple of other modalities, but not quite. It's cool stuff. Love, love, love it. Love it. And so even in those Bowen sessions that I would do, I still got psychic information and people would still have like things flash before their mind's eye while on my treatment table. So, whether chronic pain or whatever, it's just this awareness that someone had written in and said, do you think that there might be other types of healing modalities? I wish I had that, but it would take forever to look through the stack. Wouldn't it be fun if I just opened to it? It's not bad. Are there other healing modalities that I should bring through? That's what she said. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to do a psychic read on you. Listen, if I get information from spirit as I'm giving you this content now, and if they have me zoom into you, then I'll say something. But when that came in, I was like, I'm not supposed to answer it like that, am I? And Spirit's like, of course not. But you are supposed to say, yes, yes. If you are thinking that there's a new healing modality you're meant to bring in, someone like Tom Bowen or whomever, right? Madame Curie, who, it's just these innovative things where our psychic senses come over and we're like, no, something needs to be different. And you just let that flow and see what comes of it. Have told you before when I was doing Reiki, there were numerous times, right? Oh, this is one that came in recently. Oh my God, it was on YouTube. I wish I could find your name. Oh, it was not a real name, but you're going to know who you are. You asked if you started doing healing work and all of the sudden something moved your hands and you said, was that a trance healing? Yes, it was a trance healing. And I think you asked, who was that or how'd that happen? And I had said, I want you to source the answer from inside yourself. That's what you need to do because I'm all about letting you claim your power. And then someone else commented that, isn't that just divine? Isn't that God or divine consciousness? And actually, no, not necessarily. I don't actually think it I mean, it's not. It wasn't. But let me give you some ideas of who that might have been that was moving your hands and having you do that trance channeling of healing energy, right? That movement of energy through you. There's a lot of things that could have been, and I didn't want to say, so I'm not going to say. But when you're having your own healing modality that you're doing and something takes over, ask what's happening. Where is this coming from? Because sure, it could be divine chi energy moving through you, but it also could be a gabillion things. It could be, wait for it, you from a former life, your higher self from a former life coming into this experience to help you recall a previous form of how you did healing in another incarnation and to reinstitute it in this life, right? It could be a lost art that you're bringing in, right? So it could have been you from another incarnation. It could be a guide or an angel on your side helping move to where your hands needed to be. Or it could also be their guide or their soul, believe it or not, trying to move your hands to where they need to be. But I would ask, that's why I would ask. Do you remember I told you there were two different entities or beings? I shouldn't say entities because some people are like, ew, entity. Two different beings that have come through when I've done Reiki healing energy, or just the desire to heal someone on an energetic vibration, not even consciously going, oh, I'm going to do Reiki on you. It was like I knew to go in, right? And one was that amazing Asian man who just went in and zapped energy out his hands and fingers through me and went in. And remember I told you I couldn't really hold the energy well. I would drool because he would kind of talk with his accent, and I was like, his energy was so consuming that I couldn't hold it as much as I'd want to. I'd have to work with him more and more to hold it better. Let's put it that way. But he was like amazing. When my friends were sick or had stomach issues or intestinal problems, right there, and it cleared. I was like, Who are you? Who are you? And there were times when I was getting it was me from another incarnation, and times that I got that it was just a master that I had worked with in another incarnation that has come forward and is kind of on my spirit team. And to me, it doesn't really matter if it was me or him. I think it's a him. Hey, as you follow my teachings, I've created this journal to be your companion. Your 11 Soul Senses is a journal for self discovery. It's an invitation to deepen your connection to yourself and the world around you and others. This is a good thing. Your soul senses are experienced through your higher conscious awareness. Through them, you perceive the spiritual aspects of your environment, the energy patterns, vibrations, soul level experiences, and underlying feelings. I'm laughing because I'm reading a script and it's going a little slow for me. Fully tuning into your world in this way, you increase your awareness and you begin to live your unlimited potential. These are my words, but I had to write them down to remember them. This, this journal is for you to document your quest for self discovery. This is a good idea. Definitions are in there to help you understand how you are perceiving through your soul senses. Don't forget, I'm all about contemporary language. Prompts and quotes that we've added guide and encourage you. The empty pages are there for extraordinary exploration as you connect with your own higher states of awareness. I think I moved my eyeballs away from looking at the camera. But listen, to get yours, I want you, I invite you, I'm encouraging you to head to constancemessmer.com and check out my shop. Listen, I did it for you. All this I do for you. You know that. I believe in you. You got this. Thanks for tuning in. And then the other one was that big, beautiful Black woman that was just like, she knows how to heal. She has yummy mama energy that just is like, let me take you in and heal you. And I was like, wow, hers is just pure love. And I would actually call on her when people needed like grief healing. She would just come in and she was amazing. She was amazing. But they introduced themselves to me by coming in on sessions. I didn't even know they were around. I didn't look around when I was doing the healing work of Reiki and look around to say who's in spirit here, because I was dialed into the chakra or the past life or the whatever. Where do my hands need to be in this moment? The only being that I've ever called in is Christ consciousness on the healing stuff, or angels, right? But these two beings came in of their own accord, and I was like, wow, you're cool. So long story short is, if you're feeling like you might be meant to bring Reiki or some kind of energy healing or some kind of healing modality to the next level, allow it to come through you and just monitor it, right? Take notes, take an understanding. I'm sure that when Tom Bowen came up with Bowen therapy, I'm sure he, just got in the zone and made it happen. And thank God Oswald Wrench documented it, because then we were able to all learn it and work with it, and it's phenomenal. So I think that if you're feeling like, I know there's more for me, I don't want to be held back, I think sometimes you can sit with that and say, what's holding me back, or why am I being held back? And if you're always saying, oh, well, it's outside forces, I'd look at that. I'd look at that to go, really? Really? Because you're in command. Like, claim your power over it and pull back, or go for a walk, or step away from all of those distractions and figure out, well, if that's the case, whatever, then what do I need to smooth this external world out so that I could do my heart's calling? Because it's your heart's calling, right? It's your heart's calling. And so remain empowered in that. And so a number of things. I think the best thing is to have a solid business plan if you want to get into any kind of thing as a business, especially if you're helper, healer, reader, medium, whatever. Have your solid business foundation. That's really important. And the reason I can give you that information is because a dear friend of mine who started her business, I talked to her. She had a really beautiful, thriving business. And I said, listen, I want to start a business. Can you give me any input or advice? So it's a small women's circle, right? Or just get together with your friends in your arena, women, men, whatever, mixed, non-binary, whatever. Get together with your people and say, hey, I'm going to start this business. Anyone got any cool advice? What did you learn, along the way? I think those are the best conversations, right? And so she had said, I wish I would have had a foundation. I didn't start the foundation. I had to go back and build a foundation after the business was taking off. So I always want you to learn from my mistake is build that foundation, but always listen to spirit. I think I told you, I called my first track of I called my first business Namaste Healing, and that felt right. And then when I went back to take back the name, someone else had already grabbed it. Some beautiful people in Colorado have that name. And I was like, darn. And so then Spirit kept saying, you got to call it Constance Messmer. You have to call it Constance Messmer. And so I did, except when it came to the podcast. And when the podcast was happening, Spirit kept saying, call it Constance Messmer, call it Constance Messmer. And I was like, I can't. No one's going to listen. No one will follow me. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're so funny, Spirit. They're going, ha ha, nanny, nanny, boo boo. I was like, I'm going to call it soul awareness with Constance Messmer because I didn't want to call it psychic development because that, people have issue with that. And I wanted to make sure this was accessible to all people because we're body and soul. You know that. And so I called it soul awareness with Constance Messmer. And then later on, someone in Colorado has that as a healing practice, soul awareness. And I was like, wow, isn't that wild? That's wild. So I had to backtrack and extract myself. And that's cost a lot of effort, time and money and exhausting. And my team is like, oh my God, why didn't you just listen to Spirit in the first place? Constance, why did you not listen and just say your name? Have it be your name. And I was like, because I was too humble, right? And so Spirit's like, well, we have plans for you. And if you would have just listened, it would have been moving it along a lot faster instead of having to backtrack and spend all these hours redoing these episodes and changing out the name accurately. So I learned my lesson, but we lost about a year of time doing that. So that was, oops, sorry. Sorry, Spirit. Sorry. But there's a reason why it's supposed to be my name. Whatever. It's a cool name. I like it. You know, I like it. Constance Messmer. It's kind of cool. Friend of mine says constantly mesmerizing. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So, Sarah, you have a cool last name too. I encourage you to use your name in your business on your business cards. And I think that's, who we are is what we came to do. So, listen, here's my advice. When you can use your name, use your name. And definitely right, Reiki Master, you know, whatever spiritual practitioner, energy healer, claim it, name it and claim it. Reader, soul coach, psychic reader, medium. Yeah, name it, claim it. Just don't call it intuitive. So bad. Yeah. Yeah, because that's just one. You're not just intuitive. I would break that apart, break it open. What do you mean you're intuitive? What's that mean? Do you mean you're psychic? Because intuitive is claircognizance. And so if you say you're intuitive, what about clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsensation, clairgustance, all of it, clairsentiment, clairolfaction? What about all those? So rant. So I loved that question came in. I think it's going to help a lot of people, right? I think that as you enter into putting your business materials together to start your healing practice or your journey so that you can do soul expansion, not only for yourself, but for those that come to you, I think it's beautiful. This goes to everyone, not just Sarah. And I think that my encouragement to you is to let your work, God, evolve. I'm getting chills. Let your work evolve. Be open to your growing presence on the planet and the fact that you are deeply and desperately needed. Please don't doubt. Don't hold yourself back. You got this. I'm rooting for you. I'm here for you. Tune into the lessons, subscribe, like, follow. I'll teach you everything I know. I promise. So you've got this. And just really enter into those spaces when you're doing it and ask for guidance, ask your wise self. You will be divinely guided. You just will. When your intention is pure and you consecrate your work to the highest good, that's what you'll get. You'll get it. Trust me on that. All right. So I really appreciate you. And I am thankful for the question. Sarah in Canada, I'm glad you're listening. I'm glad you're all listening. I really, really love that you're tuning in, not just to me, but to your life in our world, because we need you, all the healers. Cool. All right. Can you tell I'm pausing? I'm like dragging this on because I'm asking spirit. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Namaste. I honor the divine in you. When I am in that place in me and you are in that place in you, we are one. We are one. I believe in you. You got this. Thanks. And listen. And those of you that don't want to open a healing practice, but know that you're a helper healer anyway, and just do this on the side and on the skinny and give reads or kind of, allow yourself to be a channel when the information is flowing through as a helpful friend or a idea problem solver or, solution finder. That's perfect. Do that. Do that everywhere. Bring this into your career, your life, no matter if you're doing this as a profession, reader, healer, seer as a profession, do this in your everyday life, personally and professionally. That's what's going to bring the world up to this other frequency of vibration. It'll be fabulous. It's great. All right. Love you, totally love you, totally adore you, totally believe in you. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Constance Messmer here. I just want to do a shout out of big thanks to all the members. I am so grateful. And all the people dropping in and giving little donations here and there and super thanks and all that stuff. I really appreciate you. You members and you people contributing and subscribers are what helped me bring this content to everyone, really. They both contribute to the cost of production, and I am definitely grateful for that. This stuff is not cheap to put out. Oh my God. Oh my God. So every little bit helps, and I am filled with gratitude that you're stepping up. I am not necessarily a joiner, not usually, but there are environmental issues and other organizations that I do belong to and I contribute to because I like to see them persevere. And I'm hoping you feel the same about this work. I hope you put it into practice in your life. That's another way that you could spread this work and help change our world, which is what I think it ultimately does. As you know, I think if everyone tuned into their soul senses, the world would be a much better place. So when you subscribe, it's a big yes vote for the content, and it helps spread the work across the planet. So when you put the lessons into practice and subscribe and like and share, you help me help you carry the lesson beyond you and me. And I am just really grateful. Legally speaking, this podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for medical diagnosis, treatment, or the advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat a health problem or condition. Always check with your doctor. Thank you.